I started out reading City of Lost Souls the same way I start out reading every Cassandra Clare book, hoping desperately for a happy ending, and getting this instead. Here's a summary of City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare. I've decided to use the Amazon summary because I think it's one of the most hilarious things on the planet. Can the lost be reclaimed? What price is too high to pay for love? Who can be trusted when sin and salvation collide? Love, blood, betrayal, revenge. Darkness threatens to claim the Shadow Hunters in the harrowing 5th book of the Mortal Instruments series. I mean, honestly, I read that and the voice in my head was so dramatic. Are you guys sure you want a Mortal Instruments movie? Are you sure not a soap opera? It would be much funnier as a soap opera. Next time on the Mortal Instruments of the Heart, Clare and Jace discover their true feelings for each other. Simon is left in the dust with nothing but his withering emotions. Their brother and sister! Okay, so I'll admit I went into this book not expecting the worst, but not exactly expecting the best either. While Cassandra Clare is a vastly talented writer, I think that her best work in the series is City of Glass. I was one of the few people who believed that the series would have been better off ending there. I still sort of feel that way. I think it's because I love the way it was all tied up. It would have made an excellent trilogy. But I respect her decision to keep going. It must be hard to say goodbye to characters you're so emotionally invested in. And if you really want to continue your series, it's your series, you have every right. Anyway, the reason why I went into this book not expecting City of Glass greatness was because by the end of City of Fallen Angels, the only character I liked was Simon. Let's backtrack a moment. Simon, who I despised in City of Bones. Simon, who I wanted to drop kick in City of Ashes. Simon, who I finally made peace with as a character in City of Glass, is now my favorite character. It's not that I don't embrace change, it's just that felt sort of severe. At first, when I was reading this book, I was sorely disappointed with the way the plot seemed to be going. In that, all about Jace direction again. Keep in mind, this is not really a point of legitimate criticism, this is just me. I was just sort of annoyed with all these plot lines that even if they're following another character, always find a way to circle Jace. While I did ultimately like City of Fallen Angels, this was my biggest issue with that book. I get that Jace is the main character, but come on, we've got a great cast of characters in this series, and he is not the center of the fictional universe. And then the plot picked up, and Simon reminded us why he's the best vampire in this series. And Clary got awesome again, for the first time in a while, in my opinion. And I was overall supremely impressed with the story. I'd really like to focus on characters, one especially. Sebastian, to me, was nothing but a really creepy mini bad guy to the real bad guy in City of Glass. That's as far as my emotions wrapped around him. By the end of City of Fallen Angels, I was just like, this guy again? Die already. But now I'm thinking it was a really smart move to keep him around. He's gotta be one of the creepiest, most complex antagonists that I've ever sympathized for. Seriously, you sympathize for him. You sympathize for this creepy, sad, confused, powerful, demonic, pathetic kid with a seriously disturbing god complex. Or anti-god complex. Even with all the bad stuff he does, and he does a lot of really terrible things, in the back of your mind, you want to help him. You want to shoot him in the back of the head. Just put him out of his misery, like putting down an animal with a bunch of broken bones. His character complex is so fascinating. But I still don't get why we've got a bunch of TMI fans chanting his name and rooting for him to be their lover. I mean, gross, guys. TMI fandom. Stop cheapening the significance of a seriously great antagonist. Ugh. The usual characters were a lot less irritating in this book and a lot more interesting. While the plot did revolve a lot around Jace, his connection to Sebastian and all the character development that came out of it made it okay for me. Like Clary and Jocelyn's, wow. We now, as readers, are really starting to understand the connection between Clary and Jace. This is not a sappy teenage romance. They literally cannot live without each other. We're now really understanding the depth of their relationship. It's all starting to make sense. Now that we understand this, we begin to empathize for Clare and her past actions. The ones that I personally didn't previously understand. Like, she'd do things and I was just like, ugh! Clare? Seriously? Jocelyn's hate for Jace has justifications, the kind I sort of get and almost agree with. I mean, if anyone knows betrayal and heartbreak, it's Jocelyn. But I was a little annoyed with her total conviction in the beginning. Like, why are you so sure that Jace is Clary's Valentine? How come you never considered for 1 second that he could be Clary's Luke? Jace has certainly been through just as much, and there is a lot of parallels between them. Too obvious, I thought, for Jocelyn to not notice. I mean, who knows Luke better than Luke and Jocelyn? The plot was so twisty and turny. I had to reread several parts just to get a grip on what the heck just happened. Cassandra Clare is a master at keeping you on your toes. The second Mortal Cup, the dark army of shadow hunters, Amethyst, Sebastian, Raziel. I had to keep a paper bag next to me in case of hyperventilation pretty much the whole time. This is the first book in the entire series in which I was constantly surprised. Usually I can guess a lot of things, but this time around my shocked face was my reading face. The pacing is smooth and fast. I don't mind slow moments personally, but this book does not give you a chance to breathe. So overall, yeah, I was very impressed with this book, and I must know what happens next. It's driving me crazy. Now that Jace has sacred fire in him, maybe he and Clare will learn to keep their hands off each other for more than 5 seconds. There's something I want to bring up. Over the past couple of weeks, I've heard a fair amount of rage over this series pertaining to 2 things: rape and incest. Which, you know, fine. If it's hard for you to read a book with darker plot points, like The Hunger Games for example, just because it makes you uncomfortable, that's your personal business and I don't even remotely blame you for it. But saying Cassandra Clare encourages rape and incest is the same thing as saying Suzanne Collins encourages violence. You have got to be joking me. Sebastian is a sick, sadistic creep. What he does isn't encouraged by the author, but written so we can see how sick and sadistic he is. It's literally Cassandra Clare saying, here are the awful things he does. This is why he's a screwed up bad guy. The lack of common sense circulating the reading community is startling, and the overall lack of understanding is just sad. Like, seriously? If you guys read about a character murdering someone, do you think the author wants you to go out and purchase a handgun and go crazy? Come on, use your brain. Now for a mini reward ceremony that doesn't actually mean anything to anyone but me. Character in TMI that deserves the biggest hug goes to Simon Lewis. I love you, Simon. I'm sorry for hating you before. I love you now. I do. A lot. You give up so much and you put up with everything, and you're the best. Oh, the emotional turmoil Cassandra Clare puts us through. Ain't it great? Whatever authors get paid to write their books, we should get paid twice as much for all the crap they put us through. So subscribe, comment, thumbs up if you're a shadow hunter, thumbs down if you are a dark shadow hunter. Bum, bum, bum.